In Moran's warehouse, 6 men had been machine-gunned to death. A 7th survived long enough to be taken to hospital, but he died still refusing to name his killers. The dead were Moran's top gunmen, his business managers, a safecracker, and an unfortunate doctor who just liked to hang around wise guys. The only witness was a dog, terrified by 90 machine gun blasts. The killers had dressed up as policemen, and their uniforms had fooled Moran's men into lining up for their own execution. The real cops arrived soon after. In a room across the street, 2 lookout men had watched Moran's men arrive. They made one mistake. Moran was not there, but his gang had been destroyed forever. No one was ever charged with the most notorious slaughter in gangland history. Al Capone had the perfect alibi. He was 1,400 miles away, enjoying the sunshine at his villa in Florida.
Did you ever guess or work out who must have ordered the killing?
Oh, well, I would guess that Al Capone ordered it. And I would say I'm sure that he did. Without anybody ever telling me, I know that he did, or that it wouldn't have happened.
Back in town, Al was the good guy, paying $10 for 1 apple to help out a war veteran. The Depression gave him the chance to act like Robin Hood.
Chicago's most notorious citizen, Al Capone, king of the gangsters, appears in a new role, that of public benefactor, when he sets up soup kitchens to feed unemployed. It costs Al $2,500 per week to feed these men.
First real meal in days, thanks to Mr. Capone's hospitality.
If it wasn't for our friend Al Caponeo roping up in this here warehouse on 935 South State Street, we wouldn't eat.
I appreciate the soup. On a Sunday and a cold day, soup is very hot. For these poor men here, I enjoy it myself.
Why, sure, all these poor guys here are just naturally hungry and starving now. Look what Capone's doing for these poor guys. He's doing all this himself.
He never robbed nobody on the streets. He never took advantage of anybody by selling them liquor that wasn't the real, the McCoy, you know. He handled the best.
Somebody spilled the beans, and now Prohibition agents are spilling the beer. Thousands of gallons with plenty of kick. There's no doubt about it, the raid is a smashing success. Talk about showers, how'd you like to stand under this one? Before the raiders burst the doors and kegs, the brewery was turning out $5,000 worth of beer a day. At 25 cents a glass, this was 20,000 glasses per day. But now that day's gone forever. The foaming torrent is headed for the Chicago River, where the fish will inhale it free of charge. They say this kind of work makes even the agents thirsty, so sometimes they take time out to have a glass of water. But they manage to grin and bear it.
Capone wasn't threatened only by Prohibition agents. His biggest enemies were inside his own crime army.
This is a photograph of Anselmi and Scalise. I would say they were his 2 best enforcers. They scared the hell out of any tavern owner that didn't buy booze from Al's place, from Al's brewery. They were so tough that they decided that Al Capone shouldn't be the boss, that they should be. And Al Capone found out about this, and he gave them a nice banquet at a restaurant, and made a nice little speech. And after he got through making his little talk, he picked up a baseball bat and killed both of them with a baseball bat.
But Al's murderous reign as king of Chicago's rackets was about to end. Despite bootleg profits of $100 million a year, he had got away with paying almost no taxes. The revenue men proved from his luxurious lifestyle he should have paid a fortune. In 1931, Capone went on trial for tax evasion. He told reporters he was being martyred for giving the people what they wanted, good liquor. Capone tried to fix the jury, but he was convicted and sentenced to 11 years in jail. He could not believe it. Chicago could not believe it either. Capone's reign as the most powerful man in the city was over. He was only 32 years old.
Talk about excitement at the county jail. It's finally come to pass, and here's the proof. Mr. Alphonse Capone, alias Mr. Al Brown, alias the Big Shot, has met the enemy, and he is theirs, on his way to the Dearborn Street station with an escort that'll do credit to a sultan. It won't be long now before the world's most notorious gangster will be only an offensive memory. And if he behaves himself while he's the guest of Uncle Sam in Atlanta, he'll be out again in only 7.5 years. And so, up until 1940, Mr. Capone will be Mr. 40,886. Now for a change, they're taking him for a ride. Let that be a good lesson to you. Always be sure and pay your income tax.
Capone was soon moved to America's most secure jail, Alcatraz. Now no bribes or payoffs could set him free. To most Americans, Capone was the archetypal gangster and the archetypal Italian.
They thought we were all a bunch of gangsters. If you went somewhere and you said, my name is Tony Berardi, immediately they thought I was a member of the Capone mob. And if anybody, and I've had a few people that idolized the bum. And I used to get so mad, and I'd say, how could you idolize a bum like that? He hurt his father, he hurt you, he hurt your mother, he hurt every Italian that lived in that area. Because he was national. He was not just a Chicago mobster. Hell, he corrupted congressmen, he corrupted every politician that he could possibly corrupt throughout the country.
New York, the word is flashed. The whole nation, even the world, watches America enter a new era. Rush the legal drinks to the 18 states where sale immediately starts. On Broadway, under police escort against hijackers, the liquor rolls to hotels and restaurants that have waited 13 years and 10 months for the right to sell the real thing. And how the crowd is greeting it. Take it, Mr. and Mrs. America. Here it is.
Prohibition came to an end in 1933. It had been a disaster for America, but the making of the mob. Al Capone was released from jail in 1939, suffering from advanced syphilis. Seriously ill in mind and body, he was taken by his family to his island home in Miami. There he lingered for 7 years until he died in 1947. Only now did Al Capone return to Chicago. His body was driven to Mount Carmel Cemetery, where most of the mourners were pressmen. It was a modest send-off for the most notorious gangster of all time. After Capone had been thrown out of Chicago, his crime syndicate continued to flourish. The Chicago Outfit, as it calls itself, invested its bootleg millions in both criminal and legitimate business. It was now one of the richest corporations in America. Al Capone was succeeded as boss of the outfit by his longtime bodyguard and gunman, Frank Nitti. Nitti committed suicide rather than go to jail. He was succeeded by Paul Ricca, another Capone killer. He did go to jail, and by the mid-1940s, Anthony Accardo was running the Chicago mob. In 1958, Accardo, another Capone hitman, faced persistent questioning about his past from Robert Kennedy.
Now, Mr. Accardo, in 1931, you and 4 other of the Capone syndicate, including Paul Labriola's stepfather, were seized in raids following the torch slaying of Mike Heitler. Is that correct? Heitler.
I decline to answer.
Mr. Heitler was burned to death, was he?
I decline to answer.
Can you? What grounds?
On the grounds that it may tend to incriminate or lead me into something.
Why was it selected to burn that he should be burned to death?
I decline to answer.
Accardo took the Fifth Amendment to fend off claims from Kennedy that he had been a killer for Capone and was now Chicago's most powerful gangster.